friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I'm here today to give tips to those who are looking to start a YouTube channel, or maybe you have already started your channel, especially if you're still on the smaller side and you're just looking for some other ways to help boost growth to your channel. I want to start off by saying I am not an expert. It has taken me 5 years of hard work to get where I'm at. And there's a lot of people that start their channel. There's actually quite a few channels out there that are far bigger than mine that started 1, 2, even 3, 4 years after I did. And they have surpassed me by 3 times the amount of subscribers at least. And so when it comes to growth, necessarily, I might not be an expert, but I feel that I have a lot of good tips that I can offer to help you according to what you're looking for at your channel. I want to give you some tips that are going to be more that you can take and tailor more towards you. And I want to start by sharing with how I got started and why I started the way I did. First, when I got onto YouTube, I had no idea if I was going to look to try to get an income or even put out more than 1 video a week. I had no idea what I was going to do. And I wasn't about to start investing in lighting and cameras and a bunch of fancy equipment and, video editors when I had a free one on my computer, when I wasn't even sure how serious I was going to be about it. For me, the YouTube was just a way that I could go crossover from just sharing things on Facebook with a few instructions and pictures, but people wanting written recipes when I didn't have a lot of written recipes, because a lot of the things I do, I just do. I don't have written instructions or recipes. And I figured the easiest way to show people how I do things is, well, to show them. And I figured if it looked like it was going to do well, which I really didn't expect to do great, but I figured if it did, then I could look into down the road, maybe investing into better equipment, just depending on how things go. So what I started out with was an old video camera that we used for shooting our dance shows back when I was putting on performances. I had no lighting other than what was already in my house and coming in through the window. That's why a lot of my early videos will look quite dark compared to what you'll see now. Again, I started off with just the free editor that used to come on your Windows computer, but now you can't get it anymore. It was very simple. It didn't have a lot of special effects. I couldn't overlay pictures. I could add music and do other things, but I couldn't do all the same effects like having roosters rolling by and whatever else I might be talking about. Couldn't do any of that stuff. But that was okay because, again, I was just wanting to see where I wanted to go with that. So if that's where you're at, it's okay to start out like that. You do not have to invest a lot of money into getting your channel going, especially if you're uncertain what you want to do. Now, obviously through the years, I've learned tips and come up with ideas of my own to get better lighting and so on that didn't break the bank. Because it looked like we were starting to grow. We still didn't invest in lighting, but Patrick had a couple of halogen lights and he set one up on a post that it was a very heavy post, but I would pick it up and move it into the kitchen or wherever I needed it every time I needed to use it. It was a heavy, I hated moving it, but it was a way I could add more light. And he took the second one, and that one I still use, and hung it high in the kitchen because that's usually where I need most of the light, because it's darker in the kitchen than it is in places like this. Then that's what I did for a long time. Now, while I still use that one light, I got rid of the one on the post and let Pat take it back to his shop, and then invested in the ring light. And I got that idea from my son. I never even heard of it. I don't go and watch other people's channels on how they do things. So I had no idea. It was my son that said, you should get a ring light. They're really popular. And when I found the one I'm using now, I was surprised because it came with its own tripod and then a holder inside the ring for your cell phone, since that's what I use now to record all my videos, is my iPhone. It has a much better picture and sound than that old dedicated video camera did. So that's why it was worth it for me to finally break down and go with iPhone, even though I didn't want one ever. But then when I found out the quality of photos and video that they put out, and I needed a new phone anyway, it was worth it for me to go ahead and take that plunge. And by the way, I went the cheapest I could and started off with just $100 refurbished phone. And that's all I ever get. I get the refurbished ones, which might not always be refurbished. They just might be old stock they're trying to get rid of, because I always go with the oldest iPhone I can. So I say always, but I'm only on my second one. That was because my first one I broke. I slammed it in the truck door. So you don't have to go dedicated. I mean, if you're going to make an investment, you got to have a phone and something that can do quite a bit of stuff and take good quality photos. I do recommend the iPhone. I am sure there's other smartphones out there that can do really good. Some people really like the Samsung. I have no idea of the quality of photos and videos that they take. I just know mine does really well. I think I paid $30 for the ring light, and that was worth it to me. And I still haven't added any more fancy lighting to it other than that. But I've been happy with what I have. And then as far as the movie editor, the other one was my son had the Cyberlink Power Director, and he was already using it because he was kind of getting into making videos. So he had me try his out. And then it took me a while to get used to it because it's a lot more complicated. But the more I got used to it and started using it, the more I really, really liked it. Now, I'll go ahead and link to one of the more recent ones down below. I know there's several other ones out there that people really like that work very similar though, but I'm familiar with this, and so I didn't want to change again because I've got it all figured out. I got to the point where I can figure out how to do stuff a lot more quickly. And then another thing to consider is getting an external mic, whether it be one of those big ones you can attach to your phone or your camcorder, or even a wearable mic. I have neither one of those because I've managed to figure out how to get good sound both through my phone and through my movie editor, which I also turn the volume up in most cases all the way. So that way people have the option of being able to turn it down on their phone or their computer rather than having to turn it up all the way and still not be able to hear. I keep thinking I should get a wearable mic for Patrick because a lot of times he's farther away from the camera and it's hard to hear him, and he forgets that you can't hear him from way back there. So that's another thing to consider. You got to decide if it's worth it to invest in that. Now, people like Mary's Nest, who was one of those who started her channel at least 2 years after I started mine, and she had already been following me on YouTube for a while. When she started her channel, she already had her sound, her mic, her lighting, all the things that she wanted to get started in place instead of starting really rough like I did. So if you're wanting faster growth right off the start, that's a good way to start. That might not be as important to some people. It's very important to other people. Good sound, good lighting. And I realized the importance of that as I went along. But again, you know, to me, it wasn't worth it to do the investment until I could see if people were even interested in the type of content I had to offer. So, and now I would say, yes, it's worth it, but again, it's going to depend on you and your content and the type you plan on putting out. Now, along with lighting and sound, there's things to consider. Background noise. You would be surprised at how you can be talking along and there can be background noise that you're not even aware of because you're used to hearing it. Then when you go to play that back, that background noise is almost as loud, if not as loud as you, or even louder. I know one time Patrick and I had shot a video of us talking about, I don't remember what the topic was, but we were on the deck and the neighbor kids way over there were playing in their yard. And to us, we could barely hear them. But then when I went to playback on the video and was doing the editing, they sounded like they were right next to the camera, even though they were across the street even. So that goes for dogs barking, people rustling things around in the background. So I always try to make sure I have as much quiet as I can all around me now before I shoot a video. And besides, some people can be rude because apparently you're not allowed to be a real person. And even though you're shooting videos in your own home, good grief, if you have a child that cries or a dog that barks in the background, I'm out of here. It's like, okay, well, excuse me for being a real person and not a paid Hollywood actress. You don't want those people on your channel anyway if they're going to be, that can come in and get information for free and then complain about you in your own home. I always wonder, do those people, when they go to friends and families' homes and their child makes a noise or their dog or cat makes a noise, do they tell them, do they say, I'm out of here because I don't want to hear your dog bark? I don't know. Whatever. Like I said, sometimes you just can't be real. But you know what? You should be real. Because most people, even though you'll get the whiners and complainers, most people want you to be real. They want you to be you, and they want you to be comfortable and relate to them and talk to them. So if you go back to some of my early videos, even though I've been teaching since I taught dance for 28 years and martial arts for at least 10. I've been a singer and a dancer. I've been in front of audiences all my life. When I went to start my YouTube channel, it was a totally different thing, talking to a camera and not talking to live people. I had to learn to see the camera like I do right now. When I look into that camera, I'm seeing all my followers out there, and even the new people I know that will come in. And that's what you have to realize. You're not talking to a camera, you're talking to people. And you have to be able to visualize those people. It gets easier once you get regular followers and people that you start interacting with. You can actually see people's faces, or at least see their names or whatever. And that really does help. But you can tell the difference between my old videos, my especially very first videos. I was much more sedate. That's actually not me. This is more how I am. I'm a lot more expressive, and I talk faster than I did in my earlier videos. It's just the way I am. But it took me time to develop that, being comfortable in front of the camera in that way, and being able to see the people out there as I'm looking at the camera. Which, another tip is, a lot of people want to stare at the screen like I'm doing right now. I can see myself, and it's common to want to look at ourselves when we're filming. I had to keep breaking my habit of that too. But you need to make sure you're looking at the actual camera, because people want that eye contact. So you got to think about your sound quality. You got to think about the background noises. Some stuff I'll leave in because it's real life. Some stuff, when I hear that dog bark or whatever noise, I will stop and start over and cut that part out. Now, sometimes it's fun to leave stuff in for comedy relief. I have some old videos where Patrick appeared in the middle of me shooting, or even my youngest son makes an appearance, just pops in, or the dogs go bombing through, and it was just funny. So sometimes I'll leave that stuff in because people do like to see you are a real person. And if someone complains about that, they really have a problem. So those people you got to ignore. Again, on the lighting is pay attention to shadows. Make sure that you stop and look at how you look on the screen. Do you see any shadows over your face? If you have a hat on and you're out in the sun, it might shade your eyes. People won't be able to see very well. They might see the sun shining here, but they might not be able to see your eyes. And eyes are really important. So make sure you're getting good lighting on your face. This is why a ring light is good. Basically, it's framing your face without the light going directly into your eyes, and so you're not having all those shadows. So that's another important aspect to consider. Since I've mentioned trolls on a couple of points, let me go ahead and tackle that one, because some people are probably already questioning, especially those who have followed me for a while. What I think a lot of people don't realize is that I delete far more rude comments than you ever see, and that I ever respond to. Now, yes, I do choose to respond to some, and there's a couple of reasons why. Sometimes it's because it's fun. Sometimes I enjoy putting people in their place. Other times I feel like some people just don't understand. You know, I think we live in a society where people are just no longer taught manners, or if it's not that, then they don't see you as a real person when you're putting information out there, and they think they can just come in there and say whatever they want and be rude. They think they have this right. They feel like they're entitled to make demands or tell you all the things you're doing wrong, rather than being grateful for what you're trying to do to give them stuff that costs them nothing but the time that they choose to put into watching or listening. And so sometimes, yes, I will respond depending on the attitude of the person. Like about a year ago, when all of this stuff started happening and a lot of people started waking up to the need of having simple things on hand like toilet paper and so on, I decided to do some videos that were more tailored to those people, because I knew people were freaking out, and I was doing that for their sake, but also hoping to add some information information that people that have been prepping for years might be able to glean from. I wasn't tailoring my whole channel to people that were new, but really the purpose of my channel in the first place was to reach people like that. And I had a follower get really angry. They thought I should just be tailoring my content to them. Well, I went ahead and approached this person as politely as I could, but explaining to them that my channel, you know, there's more than just that one person or that 5 people. I mean, right now at the time I'm shooting this video, I have 116,000 subscribers. It'll be more than that by the time you see it. Well, that's that many different people I've got to try to please. And it's impossible to do. So I don't look at it as actually trying to please 117 or 116 or 500,000 people. I look at it as, okay, I'm going to put this video out because some of those people, maybe it's only 5 out of all those people that are subscribed to me that will need and want this information. And then this video here will appeal to another 5, 10, 6,000 of my followers, and so on and so forth. So that's how I look at it. So it's going to come down to your content. Our channel is fairly eclectic. We try to cover many different topics. How-tos on various different things: cooking, baking, canning, preserving, dehydrating, crocheting, sewing, woodworking, metalworking, and the list goes on and on. But we also do other topical type videos. And obviously, you know, I do videos that are herb profiles. I do videos that are just health in general. And so I'm covering all the different things that I've learned about that I believe others can learn from. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to reach all the different people, not with one single video or topic, but with the various different topics. And so no matter how big your channel is, you just have to also realize there's only going to be a percentage of those people that are interested in any one given video. Now, since I have a higher population of female followers, Patrick's videos get far less views than mine do. Just know he really appreciates those people that just play his videos for the sake of giving it a view. He knows that you do that, and he appreciates that, and so do I. Thank you for that, by the way. So, and that's something else to know too, is you will have loyal followers that even if they're not interested in the topic, they will go ahead and play your videos because they know that's how you earn an income for what you do. But anyway, the trolls. In most cases, yes, you're better off to just delete the rude comments. I had a hard time with that at first because I kept thinking, well, everybody should have their freedom to say something. I would only delete the comments that had profane language in the beginning. But then I started realizing, wait a minute, and this is what you have to realize too. It's your channel, your home, your content. You have a right to talk about what you want to talk about. So if I want to talk about God and I want to talk about my relationship with the Lord and open every video with God is good all the time, I will do that, and nothing anyone else says is going to stop me. So you got to make that decision. I'm not going to stop giving God the glory, especially since he's the reason I'm here doing what I'm doing, just because this one person over here is offended by it. They choose to be offended, and that's something else you have to realize. Now, I try to reach everyone. I don't expect only Christians to follow me. If I've got something to offer a pagan, an atheist, an agnostic, and so on, then yes, I am so happy to do that. And I have a lot of people like that follow me that do not expect me to change for them. They follow me because of the information I have to share and look past the things they don't agree with. And isn't that the way we should be as a polite society? But if you got people coming in that can't handle it, bye-bye, they can go. Do not change for them. Be who you are, be yourself, talk about what you want to talk about. They can go somewhere else. And yes, there are days it just gets a little overwhelming when you have a whole bunch, because they tend to come in waves. That's the other thing. It's almost like all these little trolls all conspire together and say, let's go attack this channel today. I don't know. It's just really weird. They come out of the woodwork and then they disappear again. And sometimes when they all come at you at once, it can be exhausting, and you can go delete, 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 and then you'll get this one and say, you know what? I'm going to put this person in their place. Well, here's the other reason why sometimes I approach such things where everybody can see it, is that I want people to see the example I set. And I also want to make sure that if someone, even if it was a rude thing, if there's any question about something I've said or done in that video, I want to make sure that anyone else that comes in and reads that comment will see my reply where I explain things, just like the guy that was going on about the nearly empty bottle of rum that was sitting on my counter. The rum that was out to use in the hairspray that I was making, the same bottle of rum that had never had a drink taken out of it, had only been used for making vanilla extract. So people can make some pretty far off assumptions just based by one little thing they see. And I don't mind setting those people straight so other people can see that, hey, you're way out of line. You have no idea. So anyway, whatever. You got to make that choice. And don't let anybody make you feel bad if you decide to reply to those people. And besides, sometimes it's funny. Sometimes I like saying things that are humorous. And you know what? Here's an even more surprising fact. I've actually had some people come back and apologize for their rude behavior. And when that happened, that made it worth it, because I now not only am helping out them to see their own actions and how to properly treat other people, I'm hoping that when they go to somebody else's channel, they're thinking about what I told them and realizing that every time you go to someone's channel, you're going into someone's home that they opened up to you to give you information that costs you nothing. If you don't like the information, you can just leave. You don't have to complain. And would they do that to a friend or family member? Would they even do that to a professor at a college that they paid for? I don't think so. Now, some more tips I want to cover is thumbnails are important. This was the one thing that right off the bat I felt I was pretty good at, because I like color. And if you look through my homepage where you see all my videos in one spot, you'll notice I like color. I personally like to make sure every thumbnail looks as different as it can, and I break up the colors as much as possible. I am funny about not having too many blues coming out in the same week or too many greens. I like to spread it out and break it up. In fact, that's why I put this purple shirt on today, so I could use a dark purple in my thumbnail just to add more color to my overall page. So the more color, the more clarity in picture, and the more brief but attention grabbing title you can put in your thumbnail, the better. Sometimes I have a hard time coming up with the brief way to get a title. And by the way, you don't want to clickbait titles. And there's nothing wrong with putting a catchy title, but clickbait in the form of you're saying something in the title when your video is not at all about that. That's what you have to be careful. So I try to make sure that my titles are definitely related. Now, some people get confused about the this and that videos because I'll list a couple of things I'm going to be talking about without understanding that the this and that videos are potpourri where I talk about a whole lot of different things. But I'm not going to list every item in the thumbnail. Otherwise, the words would be this tiny and nobody would read it and know what it was about to begin with, or because they couldn't even see what it said anyway. So I usually will pick one or two of the different things I'm talking about in the video, use that in the title, but I'm usually talking about as many as 5, 6, or 7 different things. Try to keep it as short as possible for the thumbnail, and then if I want more explanation about what it's about, and I know it's too long to put in the thumbnail, then I usually put that in the title that goes under the video itself, so people can look at that and see more about what it's about, if I feel like the thumbnail isn't descriptive enough. But yeah, good clear photos. So it's best for your thumbnails. Sometimes I will use photos from the video itself. Let's say if maybe Patrick forgot to take a photo or I forgot to take a separate photo, but usually I'll try to take a separate photo for the thumbnail, because that's more likely going to turn out a lot better than trying to just take a snapshot from the video itself or allowing YouTube to choose the thumbnail for you. Believe it or not, a good quality thumbnail will do a lot to draw people in. That's the visual catch, to get people to at least click on your video. But if you're using clickbait titles and your video's not all about that, they're not going to stay and they're not going to subscribe, people. Again, this comes back to if you want good loyal followers, which is actually more important than the number of followers you have, you not only want to draw them in, you want them to stay, and they're not going to stay if you're just using clickbait to get people to come to your channel in the first place. Okay, and then a couple more points I want to cover, and this is in regards to interaction. So when you first start your channel, do not go to other channels and start spamming them saying, oh, you should come check out my channel, or I subscribe to you, subscribe me back, because most people, they're going to delete that. I do. I don't leave comments like that because I don't know anything about that person. I don't have time to check them out. And if I've never seen them comment before, then that tells me the only reason they're commenting on my video is they're just coming in there to try to get subscribers. And anyone else that sees that will most likely just ignore it. And a lot of those, by the way, YouTube automatically marks as spam, and so it ends up in a channel's held for review in the first place. So even if they don't, they don't see it and delete it themselves, YouTube might have already put it in held for review. But it's also very off-putting. It's kind of like going up to a stranger and saying, "Will you be my friend?" What would you do if someone just came up and said that to you? That's kind of the same idea there. It just seems too desperate. The better way to go about it when you're starting your channel new, in fact, before you start your channel, this is another thing that Mary's Nest did before she started. Just like she was coming into my channel and other people's channel, and she was actually getting to know the people. She was actually watching their videos and interacting with them and interacting with the other people. This is important. You want to be able to build your relationships on a very real and organic level first. In fact, that's what I did at the beginning. Even before I knew I was going to start a channel, I would get into live shows and get in there and communicate with people and build relationships. And I still wasn't even sure if I was going to start a channel then. But then when I did start my channel, I actually already had some people I had relationships with because I was interacting with them in the comments and in the live chats. And so that is very helpful. Not that you should go out there and go, oh, I'm going to do this just to get subscribers. You got to find that balance. You still want it to be real and organic. And so I know that's one of the reasons why Mary grew, because once she started her channel and she informed me of that, and then I went and checked it out, I was impressed with her quality, and I was very happy to spread the word about her channel from right at the beginning, back when she just got started. And I don't remember how many subscribers I had at the time, but I at least already had somewhat of an audience that I could spread that information and let people know. And I wouldn't have done that if I didn't think she was a good person with quality content. I'm not just going to give somebody a shout out if they have poor content and I don't think they're real. I just won't do that, especially people that are going to come in and spam my channel with, oh, you should follow me, I follow you. Nope, doesn't work that way. That's the worst thing you can do, actually, to try to get followers. And then, along that same lines, once you've established your channel, you start getting your videos up, and you start getting people coming in and making comments and asking questions. Sometimes you also have to realize that when people make certain comments, be careful to read it as it is. There were certain comments in the beginning that I used to take as somebody just telling me I was doing it wrong, when that isn't at all what they were doing. They were just saying, oh, this is what I do, and this works for me. There's nothing wrong with that. And here, right at the beginning, I, for some reason, took it like, they were just telling me I was doing it wrong. Nope, that wasn't it. You gotta remember, you're just reading text. You're not reading a person's emotions. You're not seeing their facial expressions. So it can oftentimes be hard to tell what a person's motives are. So be very careful in your reply. I know I did this recently where I read somebody's comment wrong. I wasn't sure what their intentions were, because it can be difficult to tell. When some things people just aren't really skilled at wording in such a way, or we just word things and we just assume people can hear the intonation in our voice when they can't. And then if they don't know you or know your intentions, it can come out really wrong. So you got to remember that goes both ways. So be very careful when you're replying to things that you're uncertain about. And there's times too where I'll just come out and ask people because I'm not really sure where they're going. If they really are just a troll, then a lot of times they just won't even bother replying. And one more thing I almost forgot is that, yes, you can go out. Since I'm not a pro at this, I'm not an expert at YouTube and giving all the best advice. I'm only sharing what I've done and what I've learned along the way. You can go watch the experts like Daryl Eves and some others. There's a lot of channels out there that have huge channels that make a lot of money off of telling people how to do YouTube. But here's the thing, I've watched a few of those, but that's not me. Even though I could have grown a lot faster if I would have followed some of these things right from the start, I'm the kind of person that likes to find my own path and do things my own way. Yes, there's some of those tips that some of these experts have that will fit into what you're doing, but not all of them will. And so it also comes down to how much time do you want to pour into your channel? Because if it's important to you to not only put out the videos, if you're also trying to look at making a livable wage off of YouTube, it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of time. Both time spent pouring into the channel, time for some people, maybe it's weeks, some people it's months, and some people like us, it can take years to get to that point where you're actually bringing in an income that you can live off of. So if you lost all your other income, that's where we are finally right now. We're actually to a point now where we could, if we had to, live off the income we're making on YouTube alone. So it's really up to you how much time you want to pour into it. Do you have the time to pour into it? And then the other thing is, it reminds me a lot of when I was in martial arts. And when I got my first belt, I just felt on top of the world, like I was there, man. I was really cool. I was something else because I'm a yellow belt now. Then somewhere along the way, you start to get humbled when you realize, oh my, I have a lot to learn. I went through that same kind of attitude with YouTube. You know, it's kind of this, once you hit 1,000 subscribers, somewhere between 1,000 and 5,000 subscribers, it's really easy to pick up this attitude, you know, because wow, I've got, you know, this many thousand subscribers, and it can make you feel like you've arrived, but most likely you still have a lot to learn. And then when you get to 10,000 subscribers, you start really realizing how small your channel really is. And then even when you get to 100,000 subscribers, though it is a great milestone, you start to realize you're just not the biggest fish in the pond like you might have felt you were at 10,000 subscribers or 5,000 subscribers. So keeping a humble attitude, I don't think I ever came across as haughty, but I remember just feeling so on top of the world because I had 1,000 subscribers or 5,000 or even 10. And you know, along the way, my attitude towards that changed, and I realized, good grief, especially when I saw channels that started years after I did that blew up overnight and are at, you know, here I am at my 100,000, 116,000 right now at this point, when people that started 2-3 years after I did are at 300,000 subscribers and more. So that's pretty humbling. So make sure you don't get haughty. Make sure you realize that no matter where you are in your growth on YouTube and how much you think you've learned, just like with anything else in life, there's always more things to learn. You never get to this point where you've totally arrived, and you're always going to be dealing with different kinds of people, and your channel may morph and change as you go along and as you learn new stuff, not just about your YouTube channel and how to better make it work, but about what you're doing in your videos. Like when I first started doing my videos, one of my very first videos was how to make vinegar. I don't even make it that way anymore. I do it a little differently. And same thing with my tooth powder. I've created 4 different tooth powder recipes through the years of having my channel, and a few different laundry detergent recipes. My first few recipes were laundry soap, but my newest one is a laundry detergent that doesn't have any soap, and it's my favorite one yet. And then you just be honest with people, just like I did in that most recent laundry detergent powder recipe, explaining how and why I changed over time and why I made those changes and what I learned. People are going to appreciate that. So anyway, any tips and tricks or questions you have, go ahead and put them in the comments down below so others can learn from you, or I can answer your questions as they come in. All right, well, thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.